So, MLS kicked off this weekend, guys. Opening weekend. It was a great weekend. 75,000 watching LAFC versus Inter Miami at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. But the real story for USMNT fans was the 21 teenagers that got minutes in MLS on opening weekend. 21 teenagers and another 20, 20 and 21-year-olds. Okay, so a lot of prospects, a lot of young American players. And I'm not talking here about foreigners or non-Americans. This is a USMNT channel. This is unprecedented, guys. In the past, in MLS, we always had two or three clubs that were trying to develop players. Typically, Dallas, Philadelphia, and the Red Bulls were kind of the three teams that would do it. And then every now and then, one or two other teams would have one guy here and there or whatever. And it was, not great, but we still managed to get some prospects, and a lot of them are playing in Europe and all over. But now we're starting to get to a point, or at least on opening weekend. Okay, it's early days, so we can't call this the new normal, but it's very, very encouraging. Where almost every team, or 75% of the 30 teams in MLS, have at least two, three, four prospects that aren't coming through the pipeline from their academy that they're trusting to get minutes. And a lot of them are also having an impact, as we saw on opening weekend. So this has never happened before. 21 teenagers on opening weekend in the MLS, like I said. It's unprecedented. Can the volume be louder? All right, I just don't want to clip. Is that a little bit better? I'll turn it up. The problem is if I turn it up too high on the mic, it'll start clipping and we'll get bad audio again like I've had in the last couple of videos. So you guys tell me in the comments if the audio is bad or if it gets worse. I've turned it up slightly. Now, we're going to go over today the 21 teenagers who played. And there are other teenagers who are likely to play also this season. I think it will be very likely that over the course of the season, there will be about 30 teenagers that have gotten minutes in MLS, which is not wow, but it's significantly, significantly better than we've seen in the past. Mr. Adri with actually a very good point. He says, long season ahead, guys. Some of these prospects will fade out. The ones who continue performing are the ones worth paying attention to. 100%, right? But it's a numbers game. If you have 30, 40 guys, right, that are starting to get minutes, even if only 10, 15, 20, say 20% of them hit, you're talking about 5 to 10 guys that could be USMNT, guys in the future, and that's a lot, right? Like just in one season. So you're right. Not all of these guys are even going to ever be USMNT level. But the point is, it's a numbers game. If every MLS club, 30 teams, if every one of them, and there are some who are not going to call them out in this stream too, but if every single one of them has two or three guys, now it's a numbers game. Now you're talking about 90 guys. And if only 10 of them hit, that's huge, right? So yeah, they're not all going to be USMNT level players in the future. Some of them undoubtedly will be, and I'm going to go over who it was, and also some guys who are likely to play, whether they were injured or just didn't get their opportunity this time, right? For example, Peyton Miller with New England didn't play, wasn't even on the bench. I don't know if he's injured or what. Maxi Carrizo was on the bench for NYCFC but didn't play. Frankie Westfield over at Philadelphia Union didn't play. They had Finn Sundstrom come in and play for him instead. Um, you know, Nolan Norris didn't come off the bench for Dallas, but he's likely to get minutes in the future as well, right? So you're talking about that's just four guys off the top of the head. There's a 15-year-old who was on the bench for Sporting Kansas City who didn't play, but who could also make his debut this season, right? So there's a lot to be excited about. Peyton Miller was injured. There you go. So when he's back from injury, he's likely to get minutes as well. That's yet another teenager. Okay. So we're going to go over these guys and we're going to talk about, who they were and how they did. I didn't watch all of them. It's impossible to watch 15 games, especially since so many of them overlap. But I watched a lot of them and I'll give you my thoughts here. Before we get into it, guys, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm in a different background. I'm still in Atlanta shooting this movie, so taking some time off to do the stream here. Before we get into it, let me pull up our sponsor, which is FanDuel. FanDuel is our sponsor. They're a very interesting one today that I wanted to highlight here. So in a couple of hours here, Everton versus Man United kicks off. And there's an interesting bet here. It's, plus 280 for Everton to win. I'd say that's unlikely. Man United's been in very good form, won 4 out of the last 5. And Man United losing minus 110, but plus 270 for a draw is quite interesting. Man United are away from home. They're still a team that you think, on a day, Everton, scrappy team like Everton could pull a draw. And now you're talking about, potentially throw $5 on there for the fun. So that's an interesting bet to take a look at. I might throw $5 on it. We'll see. So yeah, that's FanDuel. Thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the channel. Now I'm going to go one by one through the 21 teenagers who played on opening weekend. And first is, and most impressive, the most impressive by far, is Adri Mehmehti versus Orlando. Tom Dawson says, P, if you need any assistance with your mic issues, I'm a filmmaker in Atlanta. Would be happy to get the thing solved for you. Tom, thank you. Is the audio bad right now? Like, is my voice clipping? I can't hear it. So you guys tell me if the audio is bad. If it's clipping or something, just let me know. So here we go. Obviously, it's still messed up. You guys gotta be kidding me. Let's see. How about now? Is that better? Is that better, guys? Let me know if that is better. All right, let me know in the comments or in the chat if that's better, guys. J. Crew says it's the opposite of clipping. It's a little bit better, just very boomy. It's louder, but worse. J. Crew says better. Jared says still the same. Guys, I put the settings on here. Thought I'd fix this problem. How about now? All right, Tom, hit me up on Twitter or just email me at 11yankspod@gmail.com. We can try to sort this out. It's louder but worse. All right, guys, I'm going to do my best with this stream, and I'm going to try to sort this out afterwards. Okay, so let's talk about Adri Mehmehti. For me, Adri Mehmehti was the most impressive prospect. He is 16 years old, started for Red Bulls, and Red Bulls were so high on him that they let Danny Edelman go this year. They let him go. And that's huge to put a lot of trust in a 16-year-old who had never, played any minutes before in MLS. And he came in and was maybe one of the best players on the field. Very, very impressive. Feather-light touch, so smooth on the turn, progressive passes, a lot of through balls, got an assist for Julian Hall. For me, this guy is the same level prospect as Cavan Sullivan and Mathis Albert. The same level, for sure. And I'm very, very excited about this guy. Not really a 6. Would potentially play as a 6, but doesn't necessarily have the defensive chops. Isn't the quickest or the strongest. He's also 16, so that can change. I would have him more as an 8. Not really a creative 10. Probably could play as a 10 with his potential, but I'd say more as a box-to-box 8. That's very, very good on the ball and dictate tempo. Rarely lost the ball. Very, very good with his decision-making. Just chef's kiss for Adri Mehmehti, and it was really, really impressive. Now he does, of course, he is a dual nut. He's probably going to be at Leipzig when he turns 18. But he is a dual nut, right? He is a dual nut with Albania. He's represented Albania at under 15 level, but most recently represented the US at under 15 level. So we don't know who he's going to choose in the long run. I would say we have a good chance of him choosing us. He's at Red Bulls with an American legend as a coach in Michael Bradley. He's there with other USMNT prospects like, Julian Hall, Matthew Dos Santos, Tanner Rosbro, Katie Cowell and Justin Shea are there as well. So hopefully we can bag this guy because this is the #1 priority dual right now. And if he continues performing like this over the course of the season, I would be pro calling him up after the World Cup for a friendly camp. Not because you're trying to factor him, friendly camp wouldn't factor him anyways, but to show him that we believe in him and that we think, he's going to be a big part of our future. because guys, you can see with players of his level or Cavan's level or Mathis Albert's level, you can see it right away. I knew within 10 minutes of watching this guy play that he was special, and he kept that going throughout the game. So really, really good debut. I'm gonna be watching Red Bulls. Next up is Julian Hall. And by the way, I'm not doing these in any order, guys. I'm just going game by game and who played and what. Julian Hall, 17 years old, got a brace, was a striker, played 87 minutes. What's most interesting about him is that he started. Michael Bradley started him um, over Choupo-Moting, who is 36 years old and probably technically the better player. But Michael Bradley wanted to reward Julian Hall, and he had a very good preseason, and he was repaid with 2 goals. Now, what I like about this is you don't want to just give teenagers minutes regardless of how they play for the sake of playing teenagers. You want to give them opportunity, but with accountability, right? Um, and that's what's good about having Choupo-Moting. Julian Hall has a couple of stinkers. Well, you'll go back to the bench. So every week he still needs to keep working hard and improving. I don't think Julian Hall has an extremely high ceiling, but he seems to be a good poacher and a good finisher. I think he lacks a little bit technically, and we saw this a bit at the under-17 World Cup. But he's still just 17 years old. There's a lot of development there, and even if he turns into a Ricardo Pepi level player one day, then that would be great for us as well. So yeah, very excited about Julian Hall. We'll see. He'll probably start next weekend, and hopefully this could be a big breakout season for him. Got 2 goals. Number 3, also with the Red Bulls, 17-year-old left back Matthew Dos Santos, who played 65 minutes, looked quite solid as well. 2 chances created. Got pulled in the second half as Orlando started to dominate the game, because in that first half, Red Bull dominated from beginning to end. Orlando didn't even look like a professional team at that point. But the second half, Oscar Pereira made some changes, and they looked a lot better, and he got pulled. That's fine. He's 17 years old. He's getting opportunities. He'll continue to get opportunities and hopefully to develop. And also, it's left back is a position where we lack depth. After Anthony Robinson, we lack quality depth. So as we go through these teenagers, you'll see us find them surprisingly are left backs. And then Tanner Rosberg came on for the last 3 minutes, 17-year-old striker winger for the New York Red Bulls, and got his debut. Played only 3 minutes, but good for him. We'll see if he gets more minutes this season as well. It's also worth mentioning, even though they're not really prospects anymore, Cade Cowell, Justin Che, who are both 22 years old, also played very well for Red Bulls. So young American coach, a lot of young American prospects. If you are a USMNT fan, Red Bulls is the team to watch this weekend. All right. Next up is Fabian Gusty, the 19-year-old defensive midfielder from Orlando, who played 76 minutes against the Red Bulls and created 1 chance. He didn't start this game. He came on because I think his name was Cartagena got injured. And he came on, and I thought he played quite well. I thought he was quite solid throughout the game. So another guy to watch. Cooper Sanchez for Atlanta started in the midfield. He sort of played on the right wing a little bit, played 73 minutes, had a decent game. I don't think he stood out, but 17 years old. I also don't think he was terrible. It's interesting that Tata Martino started him over what's his name? The kid from Barcelona, Adrian Simon Gill. So we'll see how many more minutes and how much of an impact he can get for Atlanta. Next up, speaking of left backs, Finn Sundstrom started against DC United, 19-year-old left back for the Philadelphia Union. It's interesting because Frankie Westfield didn't start. I think he was supposed to start, or he may have gotten injured in the warm-up. I'm not quite sure. But Finn Sundstrom played 45 minutes and then was pulled at halftime. I don't know how he played because I didn't watch this game until Cavan Sullivan came on. I was watching other games, so I wasn't really tracking. Once Cavan came on, then I got to see a little bit of the Philadelphia Union. They ended up losing this game 1-0 to DC United. But again, opportunity is given. If these kids continue to develop and have an impact on the field, then they'll continue to play. So we'll see how Finn Sundstrom does going forward. I think he'll probably go back to the bench when Frankie Westfield gets back. Cavan Sullivan did not start for the Philadelphia Union, which maybe was a mistake because in midweek he came off the bench in CONCACAF Champions League, or the CONCACAF Cup now as it's called. Had a really good 20 or so minutes, got an assist, one penalty, and got another player, sent off. And then he came on and played 20 minutes here and almost helped Philly to get the equalizer with a very good corner and just looked a level above a lot of people on the field. Just a level above when he played. Um, we'll see if he starts next weekend. Hopefully, Bradley Cornell at some point gives him an opportunity to start. But the difference so far in its early days, the difference this year compared to last, is that he got some minutes in MLS last year and he really didn't look ready for the level. And that's fine. But so far this year, in only 2 appearances off the bench, he's already looked like he's ready to have an impact. Like there's definitely been progress in the last 4 or 5 months from him. So very much looking forward to seeing Cavan and what he does for Philadelphia this season. Maybe he'll start in midweek in the CONCACAF Cup. Probably will, because I think they won that game 4-0 or 5-0. So probably will. That would be a good time to give him a start and see how he does. But obviously up there with Adri Mehmehti and Julian. That's how our top three under 20 right now. Luka Moisa. A couple of you will remember him from the under 17 Cup as well, where I thought he was okay. He wasn't great. He also wasn't terrible. 17 years old, starting for RSL because Diego Luna was not. Diego Luna was injured, but played very, very well. 72 minutes. He had one moment in a goal that actually RSL scored, but was ruled out for offside, where he played a 60-yard ball on a dime, looked up, found a diagonal ball on a dime to the winger. Winger crossed it in, goal was scored. Striker was supposedly offside, and it was disallowed. But Luka Moisa had a really good game. He's also still just 17 years old. So that was very, very encouraging. We'll see how many minutes he gets this year, especially when Diego Luna comes back, but a good start. Xavier Gozo, the 18-year-old winger, who we remember from the Under-20 World Cup and had some European interest in this hot season, played the full 90 minutes for RSL against Vancouver. Didn't play particularly well. I don't think it was his best game. So we'll have to see how he looks going forward and in the future. What I saw from Gozo at the Under-17 World Cup was a lot of pace and a lot of ability to get behind, but a very poor final ball or sometimes very poor decision making. Kid is 18. That can improve over time. But he has the raw tools. He's very, very quick 1v1. He's explosive. He's an athlete. And his technical ability is enough to have an impact at least in the US. So we'll watch. The maturity needs to improve. He is still eligible for the Under-20 World Cup, the next Under-20 World Cup, which is in next year in 2027. So let's see how he does. Another guy who I know nothing about, interesting. Aiden Hezakano, 18-year-old winger / midfielder. Looked decent, drew 3 fouls. I don't know very much about this guy, but I thought it was an interesting debut for him. Also just 18 years old. It's worth mentioning that Aiden Hezakano played more as a winger in the 3-4-3 that RSL was playing, and Xavier Gozo played more like a wing back. But another guy who got 72 minutes, and for RSL to start 3 teenagers in attacking positions in Luka Moisa, Xavier Gozo, and Hezakano was very brave. They lost this game 1-0 to Vancouver, but it was very, very close. So another guy to mention. Christopher Epps is in an interesting position this season because he broke out last year, got a couple hundred minutes for the Chicago Fire. But now he appears to be the 5th choice center back at Chicago. I think it's Joel Waterman and Sam Rogers and the new South African center back, Mbokali, I believe is how you pronounce his name. They started over him at back 3, and then he came off the bench and played 14 minutes. Now, the other center back, whose name I am blanking on right now, the English guy that they got from Philadelphia Union, didn't play. I don't know why. I'm guessing some kind of an injury. But when he comes back, then that's going to make him 5th choice. So I wonder how many minutes he's going to get this year for Chicago. You'd think in back 3, he would at least get more opportunity. But being the 5th center back doesn't bode well for his minutes this year. So I'm very curious to see what Greg Berhalter. They lost this game 2-1 to Houston away, by the way. So it'll be interesting to see, Jack Elliott is the other guy. So when he comes back, is he going to get minutes? I think that's the big question. Berhalter mentioned in preseason that he might get 600 minutes, which to me, not really enough. That's not a big enough jump from last season. Um, so I'm curious. I'm very curious. And look, maybe he's not ready, right? I didn't watch this game, so I don't know how he played. Maybe a Chicago fan can tell me. But he is one of our top center back prospects. So I hope Berhalter does right by him over in Chicago because they're not going to win. At least can they try to develop players, right? I think personally letting go of Brian Gutierrez was a big mistake. I think he was their best creative attacking player last year, and I think they're going to miss him this year. Even though, and they have Alan Franco who they bought in. He's torn ACL. He's not going to be back until June, right? We all know as Berhalter's not the previous coach. So at least give Christopher Kups minutes and see how he does there. Because I don't think Chicago is going to be very good this year, despite Berhalter bringing in a lot of the guys that he wanted. He's also the GM there. I'm disappointed that they brought in so many center backs because it feels like it's going to limit the development of Christopher Kups, but I guess time will tell. YouTube enjoying it. Big fan. Uh, would you ever consider doing a video or stream where you look back to your first World Cup roster prediction after the 2022 World Cup? Yes. So Tack and I will do that when the World Cup roster drops. We did that last time for 2022 also. It was fun because you got to see how right or wrong we were. And I think it's going to be interesting this year to see when that roster drops, who we got right and who we got wrong. But we're definitely going to do that when the World Cup roster drops. Number 14 was Luca Bambino, an LAFC product who wasn't getting minutes at LAFC and went to San Diego last year and was a starter for them and continues to be a starter for them going forward. He's typically a left back, but they had him playing at right back. 19 years old, played 70 minutes. I thought played reasonably well, didn't stand out in an amazing way, but was reliable and steady. And, credit to all the work that Mikey Vargas is doing over in San Diego. Number 15 was Pedro, right? The former Barcelona midfielder who had also joined San Diego last year, got a lot of minutes, came on and played the last 20 minutes, still just 19 years old. He had a very high ceiling, was one of the standouts of the 20 World Cup in 2023. And I'm very curious to see if he can continue to develop over here in MLS, particularly with the sort of youth project that they have going over in San Diego. Number 16 was Oscar Verhoeven versus Montreal. And Mikey Vargas has really relied a lot on his former under-20 charges when he was the U.S. under-20 coach. He came on and played 20 minutes. He was sort of fighting with Aiden Harangi last season for minutes at that right back spot. But now Luca Bambino was playing right back, but he still came on and got another 20 minutes. He's a San Jose reject. David Vasquez is another one over there in San Diego. That was a San Jose reject. And I think he may or may not have gotten some minutes this season as well. Duran Ferre was another one, 19-year-old goalkeeper, and I thought really good, actually. Got the clean sheet as they beat Montreal 5-0. Only had to make 2 saves, but also looked quite good with his feet for a 19 years old. Looked very confident with his feet. 40 passes, 40 out of 45 passes. So the problem with Duran Ferre is the only reason he started was that Pablo Cisniega was banned, right? He was serving 1-match ban. And CJ Dos Santos was just coming back from an injury. And so they didn't, Mikey Vargas didn't want to risk him and gave the, third choice goalkeeper, Duran Ferre, an opportunity, and he performed well. So I'm Mikey Vargas over in San Diego. I'm going, I got 3 good goalkeepers that are reliable and a guy who potentially could get more minutes. I'll be honest, give Duran Ferre, more minutes. Like, if he's shown that he's reliable and good enough, why not? Give him more minutes this season. He could be your starting goalkeeper in the future. Maybe let one of the other guys go. Look, it's one game, right? It's a goalkeeper. It's one game. He is still young. He could make mistakes, but I thought he looked really good. If there are any San Diego fans in the chat, tell me what you think about his performance, because I was really impressed with his maturity and particularly with his ability on the ball. He looks like a ball-playing goalkeeper, which we don't have a lot of. So I was very happy to see Duran Ferre. I thought it was Ferre, but in the broadcast they were saying, I thought it was Ferre. On the broadcast they were saying Ferre. No, it does make you wonder why Adam Bogey started in the under-20 World Cup when Durham Ferre looks this good in MLS. Bobby isn't even the black goalkeeper for the movement. So what was Mitrovic doing, man? Average Joe watching Michael Bradley's New York Red Bulls. Oh no. Oh yeah, will be one of the only MLS teams I watch this season. Definitely my number one team to watch. If you're a USMNT fan, Red Bulls are the number one team to watch. Also, the fact Ferre started makes our under 30 World Cup coach look so stupid. Yeah, it really does. Really does. By the way, Marko Mitrovic, terrible opening day. Terrible. Ian James, another center back prospect who I am very high on. And guys, think about the under 17 World Cup. If we had Ian James and Adri Mehmehti in that roster, we might have beaten. I mean, we should have beaten Welcome anyways, but we could have gone a lot further because those are two real quality pieces we were missing. I don't know why Ian James was not there. I thought he should have been there. I did hear, and this is unconfirmed, that perhaps there was a concussion issue, and that's why he wasn't there, which is unfortunate because he started for Sporting Kansas City against San Jose. Now, there is this game 3-0, and I watched this game. From what I saw, Ian James played like a classic high ceiling defender who is 17 years old. Uh, Spiders Latin says Ferre is actually pronounced Buffon. So he's big, he's athletic, he's strong, he's good in the air, and he's very good with his feet. Where I thought he could have done better was with some of his decision making, and his reading of the game, and that is extremely normal for a teenage center back. In fact, it's very rare for 17-year-old center backs anyway to get starts. The fact that he's starting for them is encouraging, and I hope he continues. I hope they trust him so that he can continue to develop. I don't know how good Sporting Kansas is going to be this year. They've got this coach who I saw him in Chicago. I saw him with US under 17s. I just don't think he's a very good coach. I'm very curious to see how Sporting KC looks. But giving minutes to Ian James is 100% the correct decision, and I think he's going to be a USMNT center back in the future. That's his ceiling. That's his ceiling. So very, very exciting. And I'm going to be watching more of this kid. The center back pool, by the way, guys, is looking very, very good. We already have Chris Richards, who's an established starter, but still young enough to play in the next World Cup, at least, potentially even 2034. And then you have Notai Banks, who's flying through, and it's going to be a very good center back, already is. And then prospects-wise, you've got Ramit Hamouza, who went over to, I believe it was Werder Bremen. Yeah, Ramit Hamouza, also from the Under-17 World Cup, was at Birmingham Legion. You've got Josh Winder, who's in purgatory over in Benfica. I don't know what's happening to him. Probably needs to come get a loan to MLS or something and start getting serious minutes, or he's going to fall off pretty hard. But then you've got Christopher Cups over in Chicago. In Chicago, you've got this kid in James. I'm very curious to see what happens with Neil Pierre. Weird story where he's gone to Denmark now. And then also there is Chris Applewhite over at Nashville. I'm curious to see if he gets any minutes this year. Regnaga was another 15-year-old for Sporting KC that was on the bench. Didn't play, but 15 years old. Very curious to see if he gets minutes this season. Sporting KC has some interesting guys coming through. Number 19 is Drew Baena from the New York NYCFC. He was a right back, came on and played the last 10 minutes for them in their 1-1 draw with the Galaxy. So just 10 minutes. Very hard to know what this guy's ceiling is, but opportunities are opportunities. Then also number 20 was Jonathan Shore, who also came on for NYCFC. 18 years old. He's not a right back. That's a mistake. He's a midfielder. Also played about 10 minutes for them. He started a lot of games for NYCFC last season. So I'm hoping he takes a real step forward and sort of a box-to-box midfielder that can sort of also play as a 6. Again, guys, it's all about the numbers game, right? We're talking about numbers here. And the more guys we have playing and getting opportunities, the more guys are going to hit. It's a numbers game. So Jonathan Shore, and then number 21 was Snyder Burnell from the Seattle Sounders, who played 46 minutes for Seattle in their 2-0 win over Colorado. 18 years old, made his debut last year, and I'm curious to see how many minutes he's going to get for Seattle this year. But 21 teenagers getting minutes on opening weekends. And that doesn't include guys that will likely get minutes as well this season. Whether that's going to be, oh, I didn't read it. Sorry. Mitrovic is a terrible coach. Rams aren't there. One game. Let's be patient. It's a new team. It's a sort of mixed team. Let's see how they look. Let's give Mitrovic some time. But yeah, opening weekend was terrible. 21 guys. 21 guys playing well. And like I said, Peyton Miller is going to get minutes at some point. Maxi Carrizo, of course, is going to get minutes at some point. So that's two other teenagers right there. There might be a few more that are coming through, right? Like Reynat, for example, over at Sporting KC. There could be others as well. Mickey Joyner, St. Louis, 19-year-old, another guy who's probably going to get minutes. So I think probably 30 teenagers this season is who we should be looking at. I didn't miss Sakiris because Sakiris is 20. So that's Snyder Brunel for you. Now, not just teenagers. If we're still talking about prospects or relatively young players, there were also 20, there were 11 20-year-olds and 9 21-year-olds who also got minutes in MLS this season. And for the 20-year-olds, you have Zakaria Taifi, he's a right back from Orlando, got an assist in that 2-1 loss that Orlando got to the Red Bulls. Miguel Perez, 20-year-old for St. Louis, came on, got some minutes. Tate Johnson, the left back, played for Vancouver, started for Vancouver. Sergio Orejel, the 20-year-old midfielder from Chicago, came on and got some minutes. Ethan Kohler, the 20-year-old center back, started for New England. Brooklyn Reigns did not play well for New England, but did start. Malcolm Fry was a winger who also came on for New England. Matthew Corcoran, midfielder for Nashville, came on and got some sub minutes. Taha Habroon started for Columbus, right? Jacob Bartlett started for Sporting KC, a midfielder. And Nico Shakidis started for San Jose and actually looked very good. It was the heartbeat of a lot of the attacking moves that they had over there. So very, very good from him. And then for the 21-year-olds, you've got Nolan Miller for Orlando. Luke Brennan came on for Atlanta, played some minutes. Dado Valenzuela came on and played as a winger for Cincinnati. I actually thought he looked really good. Jackson Hopkins played well for DC United as a winger. Brendan Craig came on and got some minutes for Montreal. Justin Reynolds started for Sporting KC at right back. Alex Harris and came off the bench for Colorado. Darren Yappy started for Colorado on the wing, even though he's actually more of a striker. And then Alex Harris also came on. So these are encouraging. We're talking about between the teenagers and the 2021-year-olds, we're talking about 41 guys. And that doesn't include guys who haven't gotten minutes yet. Frankie Westfield, Nolan Norris, Peyton Miller, Maxi Carrizo, Renaga, others that could come through this season and get minutes. So, like I said, not all of these guys are going to, be high ceiling players or guys that are going to represent the U.S. men's national team, but it's a numbers game. There's enough quality there that this is very encouraging. Here I have a question that I wanted to talk about. Somebody had a super chat, but not a super chat. Here, Agnon says, has this increased your respect for MLS at all? Growth for the league. This is the way for MLS, right? If you're not going to spend money, okay, which they don't want to do, and become a serious league. If you're not going to have stakes because 65% of the league makes the playoffs, right? And there's no promotion relegations, the stakes are always very low. At least become a development league. Become a development league throughout the whole league where players are getting opportunity to developing players and then selling the really good ones on to go to Europe and the rest can stay and have little careers. That is the way for MLS to go. And it's more interesting for USMNT fans to now pay attention to MLS and watch it for these prospects. That's what I do. I watch MLS for the prospects. Even though I'm a Chicago Fire fan, they're not playing prospects that I'm watching. I'm going to watch Red Bulls or I'm going to watch San Diego, whoever. So I think this is the way for MLS, honestly. I will continue to call out MLS for the ways in which I think they pretty consistently fail, but I will give them their flowers when they do the right thing. And this weekend, they absolutely did the right thing. So credit to them. Now, if you notice from all of these, players, there are teams that did not. play any youngsters. I'm going to call some of these teams out now, right? LAFC is one of those teams, right? And LAFC fans got real mad at me on Twitter for calling them out. Jude Terry, one of the best midfield prospects in the league, didn't even make the bench for LAFC, right? And LAFC has had a mass exodus of players. Luca Bombino had to leave because he couldn't get minutes over there. Pedro Guimarães had to go to Orange County, left, and is now in Germany, right, or going to be there this summer. Tyson Epsy also left the LAFC Academy to go to Orange County. Kids at the LAFC Academy know, right, that they're not going to get opportunities for LAFC, so they're leaving in droves, and that's not good. Inter Miami, another team that's not giving opportunities or developing young players. But neither of those teams is as bad as the 2 or 3 worst teams for player development. I'm going to call them right now. It's the Portland Timbers, Houston Dynamo, and Minnesota United. Far and away the 3 worst. Portland Timbers has been in MLS for 20-something years, and nothing. Literally nothing. Do not care about development. Do not have prospects coming through. It's just been a desert over there. Okay. Houston Dynamo, same situation. They're in such a talent-rich area in South Texas, and they do nothing for development. Brooklyn Range wasn't even theirs. They got him from USL, and he was developed in the Barcelona Academy in Arizona. Dorsey is like 26 years old. He's not a prospect, and he left Houston Dynamo. So those 3, and then Minnesota, same thing. Those 3 are the worst. DC United is bringing them through the academy. They just struggle to really develop there, but then they end up leaving. Like guys like what's his name, Kevin Paredes, who went to Wolfsburg. Guys like that. Griffin Yao, who's now back in the MLS. But those 3 are far and away the worst. And I'm not talking about the Canadian teams right now because they should develop Canadian players. That's fine. I don't expect them to develop American players. But the American MLS teams, Minnesota United, Portland Timbers, Houston Dynamo, and then obviously LAFC and Inter Miami. And then I'm also going to call out FC Dallas, who really used to be the #1 academy and club in MLS, like the club in MLS for development. How many guys, USMNT guys, came through their academy, right? Orson McKinney, Ricardo Pepi, Tanner Tessman. Chris Richards was there for a year or 2. And then even a few other guys like Brian Reynolds came through there as well. Justin Shea, another guy who came through there as well. It's just dried up over in Dallas. It's completely dried up. All of those guys were in that one generation. But since, 2022, have they had any prospects coming through? And again, I'm beefing with Dallas fans on Twitter because I called this out. And they're like, no, we have no one knows. Okay, so you have one 21-year-old who didn't even get off the bench for Dallas this year, right? Is that really the level that we should be expecting from an MLS team, and certainly from a team that used to be experts at youth development? No. It's sad to watch FC Dallas compared to what they used to be to what they are now. So I'm going to throw them in the mix. Those are the 6 worst teams in MLS. St. Louis is another one. St. Louis is at least Mickey Joyner, Miggy Perez, 1 or 2 guys. They still need to do better. And Charlotte, let me call up Charlotte. They wouldn't even let Mufasa Bertrand-Mas make the bench. And I don't think Bertrand-Mas is that high ceiling of a prospect, personally. But he's at least good enough to make the Charlotte bench. I mean, Bayern Munich is interested in the kid, and they don't want to sell him to Bayern. It's like they're all pricing him out of a move to Bayern, which is fine. I don't think he's a Canadian prospect. But you can't charge this huge fee for him to price him out because he's supposedly so good, but then he's not good enough to make your bench. Okay, and that's just one guy. So Charlotte is another team. So Charlotte, LAFC, Miami, Minnesota, Houston, Dallas, and Portland. 7. Why do you think Berchmas is a high tier prospect? I think that he, at the youth levels, has stood out because he's physically very, very good. And I think that matters more at the youth level, in the same way that Cade Cowell really stood out at the youth level, but at least thus far, the pro level has been a disaster. I think he's physically very good, and I think at youth level that matters, but I think he's technically good enough to play in MLS, but I just don't think he has the technique to be able to compete, to be an elite guy one day. That's my personal opinion. Some people disagree with me. I hope I'm wrong. We need more, good wingers, especially 1v1 wingers. But he's definitely good enough to at least make the Charlotte bench. I'm a little surprised that they didn't do that. So, Pete, to be honest, I don't think many kids are playing soccer in Western North Carolina. I got to be honest, I disagree, right? I mean, Chris Richards came from Alabama. Like, there's enough kids playing soccer all over this country that if you're in a metro area and you can't develop any prospects, that's not great. Now, to be fair to Charlotte, they are a relatively new team. So it does take time to develop prospects and players. I'll give them that. And I'll say the same for Inter Miami. They're relatively new compared to like Portland Timbers or Houston Dynamo, or even a Minnesota United who's been around for almost 10 years at this point. So those are some of the teams that I want to call out for this. But mostly the point of the stream is that it's a very, very encouraging opening weekend for MLS and for teenagers. And I'm going to continue to monitor these guys going forward, and we'll see what this looks like. Guys, I'm sorry about the audio in the stream. I thought I had this issue fixed. I don't know why it's still an issue again. I'm going to try my best to get it done before the next video or stream. Thanks for watching, though. Hit that like button before you go. Patreon subscribers, thank you for continuing to keep this channel going. I will talk to all of you guys very soon.